This month's patron request, courtesy of Chris, is a curious one. It's the fourth entry in an animated franchise that started playing theatrically, is now direct-to-video, and each sequel is only 45 minutes long. If you saw my slam at Alpha and Omega, you'll know I did not much care for that first film, about two wolves forced to mate out in the wilderness. I found it unfunny, annoying, had one-dimensional characters, and felt like how people who don't watch a lot of computer-animated films think most of them are alike. So with that, you probably assume I would hate Alpha and Omega 4, The Legend of the Sawtooth Cave. Surprisingly, my reaction just amounted to... eh? Because of its short length, it doesn't waste a whole lot of time on superfluous things and padding things out. The premise is simple and told in 2 acts. Humphrey and Kate's young son Runt is afraid and wants to prove himself. Then he helps out a new friend. And that's basically it. There's a nice message, none of the characters are irritating, and it just breezes by. This is a babysitter. It's made for very, very, very young children, and it's harmless. Is it a good product? Not really. If you switched on Disney Junior right now, you'll probably come across something better and with more substance to it. The villains in this are weak, and I still cannot get past the perfectly groomed haircuts on these wolves. There's also a pee joke randomly in the middle of this thing, for something geared at toddlers and that was otherwise innocent and appropriate. Just throw that in there. Just feels unnecessary and unwarranted. The animation still isn't great, but I give it more leeway here, seeing as this is a 45-minute direct-to-video project, as opposed to the first Alpha and Omega, which got a theatrical release and had a responsibility to look far better. However, for all of its flaws, I was never actively annoyed with Legend of the Sawtooth Cave. I also have to compliment the voice acting. I did not look at the credits beforehand and actually thought they brought Justin Long back to voice Humphrey. However, that was just a really good impersonation from Ben Diskin. I was also trying to figure out Runt's voice actress. At first I thought it was maybe Cap Susie, then Elizabeth Daily, and then finally it hit me that Debbie Derryberry did his voice. Of course, after I realized it, I couldn't stop hearing Jimmy Neutron coming out of that wolf cub's mouth. In conclusion, Alpha and Omega 4 is nothing particularly memorable, but it's innocent enough. Unless you're a huge fan of the Alpha and Omega series, or you have a 3-year-old who wants to watch it, you're never gonna set your eyes on this. I probably wouldn't have even watched it had I not gotten a Patreon donation. This film is nothing more than a shrug. And that's why I'm always a little confused when people complain or get angry when a new Alpha and Omega or Swan Princess or Land Before Time sequel is announced. If you're very likely not going to watch them, why waste time getting upset about their existence? These direct-to-video sequels will mostly sit on a shelf at Walmart gathering dust, with the occasional soccer mom picking them up. But otherwise, be completely ignored by the populace at large. And at the very least, their continued production leads to gainful employment for animators, so there's an added silver lining there. In conclusion, if you have a child under 5, you might feast your eyes on it. Otherwise, you'll forget I even talked about Alpha and Omega 4. I'll see you next time.